You saw the headline. Japan is not only declaring war on Western comics, it's absolutely crushing the legacy franchises that have been floundering after being mismanaged by companies like Disney and, well, mostly Disney. But this isn't going to be a big Disney bash. There's plenty of that on YouTube already, and it's actually a lot bigger than just one company, one country, and even one century. Japanese media is recontextualizing everything we know about film, television, storytelling, comic books, characters, and art as a whole. Maybe I'm just in denial about being a virgin geek loser. What was that one? Nerd soy. But anime is cool now. When I was a kid, we had shows like Avatar and Pokemon, but these didn't count. They were on major networks and they didn't carry that obscure Japanese energy in the same way as something even as popular as Dragon Ball. Nowadays, weeaboos don't just get more respect. We're starting to see posers and imitators. Like, you're wearing a JoJo shirt, name 3 Crusaders. Go ahead. That's what I thought. Motherfucker. Jujutsu Kaisen is getting a McDonald's meal, Monkey D. Luffy is on the Las Vegas Orb, and even shows like Rick and Morty and Scooby-Doo are using anime art styles to attract new viewers. And it's far from over. We're in the midst of a huge cultural shift, which is why I think this video is so important in the first place. If you're new to the channel, this is a great video to start with. My name is Luke Wilson, and I believe in the power of YouTube content. Mr. Beast is pushing the limits of media production, Open Sauce is assembling the greatest minds on the internet, and I, with my meek little channel, hope to provide you with entertaining content that gives you real, relevant information to walk away with. If that sounds appealing, let's get into it. Really gonna knock 'em dead with that one. Now, in the first video of this Japan's Influence on series, we talked about Pokemania, but there's a lot more to it than just the controversies and financial successes we previously discussed. Yes, Pokemon helped bring Japanese television to the mainstream, but it almost transcended its association with anime, and even video games on the whole.
Calling all Pokefans, are you ready to do what you have to do to take what it be take to do it?
Pokemon is its own thing. It's just about as iconic as you can get. Casual fans might not even realize the TV show was an anime since it was so heavily associated with Cartoon Network's lineup of shows in the 2000s and 2010s. I guess the card game is like the base format of Pokemon, but even that has kind of become secondary to the brand itself. Like, what's Pokemon? Well, it's this thing where you collect different monsters and battle them and evolve them. So it's like a game? Yeah, I mean, it's a card game, a video game, a TV show, they made a few movies recently, you get the point. Partially by accident and partially by design, Pokemon was able to become such a powerhouse because it didn't commit itself to one thing. It's the most cliché boardroom pitch statement of all time, but Pokemon wasn't just a game, it was an idea. Capsules were already a big thing across Japan, so putting cute little creatures inside was a great concept. And insect collecting was a popular activity across the globe, so making a game out of it was an even better concept. Turn these little creatures into trading cards, something that has been wildly successful for centuries, and bam, now you have an idea that can make millions. But take the entire thing and put it on the Game Boy, which to this day is the #4 best-selling video game console of all time, and you've created the single most profitable franchise of all time. People could trade their Pokemon between Game Boys, digitizing the card game before it even came out, and forcing customers to make friends and spend money if they wanted to catch them all.
Mermaid Man says...
Another beautiful thing about Pokemon is that you didn't need to be a gamer, a collector, or even a couch potato to be part of it. You just needed to know who Pikachu is.
Pikachu.
Even today, Pokemon Go has close to 100 million active players in the past 30 days, and gets constant updates while remaining completely accessible and free to literally anyone with a phone. But what I attribute Pokemon's success to most of all is not the cute characters, the simple yet complex RPG-style gameplay, or even the sexy holographic cards. It's the fact that the idea is so steeped in things that humanity has historically proven themselves to be fond of. Capturing, observing, and showing off creatures, trading objects of value, capsules, for some reason, training, fighting, leveling up. This is the core of great innovation, taking something that's already popular or successful and using state-of-the-art technology to improve and expand upon the concept. You could never replace baseball cards, but you can do it better than the last guy. And on the subject of playing cards, humans have some weird fondness for small interactive rectangles, and as of right now, scientists don't really have a solid answer as to why. We mentioned the Game Boy before, but cards of all kinds have popped up independently across the world. And let's not forget about you guys who are watching this in the bathroom, at the gym, or at work. Your phone is no exception. You primarily use your thumbs to swipe through layers, and you discard apps by swiping up. carefully applying different amounts of pressure for whatever action you're executing. And just like old people have giant playing cards, they have iPads and tablets. Tablets that have their roots in the clay tablets of Mesopotamia from over 5,000 years ago. Not only does this support the idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but it begs the question, if we took 100 planet Earths and watched humanity evolve from scratch, would we inevitably arrive at the cell phone? And it begs an even bigger question, is good innovation just correctly guessing the next step in human evolution? Like, humans were always going to need a way to document information. We went from clay to metal to paper because, well, we simply couldn't find something better than paper. Until we invented computers, and now everything is digital. And we were always going to need a way to carry it around, so we got smartphones, and they'll continue to improve until something irrefutably better comes along. Let's talk about Bakugan. I did a little boopity boop boop research so I could bring it up in this video, but holy shit, the Bakugan rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than I initially thought. It actually took me a while to even take it seriously, because, come on, it's just another Pokemon ripoff, right?
Wrong!
Now, if you're like me, you'll probably laugh your ass off when I tell you that Bakugan was conceived by Aldrich Saussure in the Walmart toy aisle as the marble of the 21st century. But when you consider everything we just talked about, that's actually a great place to start. Even as a kid growing up during the height of Bakugan, I played with marbles. They're fun to look at, fun to roll on tracks and stuff, I don't know, fun to choke on if you're under the age of 3. Spin Master paired up with Sega not only to help flesh out the idea, but to give it that anime manga flair. This resulted in a 16-page manga that was written during production, later evolving into the anime that would release alongside the toy in 2007. A lot of people compare Bakugan to Beyblades, yet another product that seemingly reverse-engineered the Pokemon formula, but Beyblades actually have a lot more to their history, not only improving upon Ideal's battling tops from the 1960s, but completely reimagining Beigoma, a century-old Japanese children's game that, well, was literally just a lamer version of Beyblade. I mean, seriously, look at how stupid these kids look. My custom Earth Eagle could absolutely destroy your... Both of these franchises would receive Toy of the Year awards and reach the top of markets across the globe, with Bakugan even outselling Transformers and Star Wars at one point. Over 55 countries praised Bakugan, and while the company claims the success came from a mixture of collectability, transformation, and gameplay, pretty much everyone interviewed about the project credits the passion, dedication, and collaboration between all parties involved. Co-CEO of Spin Master, Anton Raby, is quoted as saying, "We became a force to be reckoned with, as someone to partner with to take great ideas from Japan to the rest of the world. And this right here, this is what we've been building towards. I could sit here and say, oh, you guys remember Bakugan, right? Ha, Beyblade, let it rip, yeah. And build this whole video off of cheap nostalgia points. But this quote alone proves that these beloved franchises are part of a larger cultural shift. And just like the cell phone, they are inarguably cooler, more fun, and more innovative than what came before. The Bay is inevitable. Now that we've covered what the kids were into, let's look at some more mature content from the late 2000s. It just so happens that two very similar shows were being serialized around this time, and while one of them isn't considered to be the greatest show of all time, it was still groundbreaking in its own niche, and again helped the West to realize that Japan knows their shit when it comes to intense, thought-provoking, and well-written stories. I am of course talking about Breaking Bad and Death Note. Both of the show's protagonists are morally questionable men with criminal alter egos who must balance their ambitions with their boring, average lives, and each series does a phenomenal job of not only creating tension and intense drama, but doing it in a completely unexpected and refreshing way. We once again see how a simple premise can be elevated by intelligent design, and the characters have become so iconic because of it. Walter, Jesse, Gus, Mike, Skyler, Walt Jr., Marie, they're all so distinct yet so complex at the same time. You really get to know each person inside and out, everything from their motivations to their flaws, even their voices.
Walter, when she suck it on your nuts, and you a gangster.
And let's not forget about Hank, the lead investigator who is constantly one step behind Heisenberg, completely blind to the fact that it's his own brother-in-law. Death Note, on the other hand, focuses less of its writing on the characters and more on the interactions between them, and the extremely long monologues inside their heads.
Be quite amazing.
By episode 2, protagonist Light Yagami is already under threat of investigation due to just how insanely intelligent the Detective L turns out to be. It's almost like the opposite of the dynamic between Hank and Walt. L knows that Light is the criminal he's after, but he just needs to be absolutely sure before he publicly acknowledges it. It's no wonder both shows grew to critical acclaim, but Death Note still suffered from the fact that it was an anime. I'm not saying Death Note is better than Breaking Bad, or even on par, or even in the same ballpark, or city, or state as Breaking Bad, but it almost had to walk so that the future of anime could run. For a lot of kids in that time period, Death Note was their first real anime, and apart from carrying a lot of that sweet 2000s emo nostalgia in the theme songs and animation style, it was crucial in the growth and dissemination of Japanese media. I mean, if you watched Cartoon Network at all in 2007, Death Note was readily available and probably right up your alley. The genesis of this video was the realization that manga, in many cases, is just another version of superhero comics. A young, oftentimes male character is granted supernatural powers and winds up using them to fight off the forces of evil that plague the world. And while Death Note immediately flips that concept on its head, it still dives into science fiction, philosophy, and even religion as the real-world implications of such a story begin to set in, and the character slowly grows to accept the role he's been called to. And while I was initially going to only speak on the current state of anime versus Western media, this is actually a conflict that has been going on for decades. We just talked about how Cartoon Network's daytime programming was crucial in popularizing this alternative to Western media, but their nighttime and weekend blocks actually took it more than a few steps further. Lord knows this generation loves Adult Swim. If it isn't Smiling Friends, Rick and Morty, or Aqua Team Hunger Force, it's Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball Z, and Naruto. But why? Well, it's the same reason Breaking Bad did so well. It took a lot of risks, improved on what came before, and did it all with an insane amount of confidence. But even before Adult Swim, Cartoon Network had another programming block that not only featured anime, but was actually centered around it. Toonami ran from 1997 to 2008 and then was brought back in 2012 by popular demand. Adult Swim actually takes full credit here since the revival was originally an April Fool's prank, but audiences campaigned hard enough online for it to make a full return. Apart from being a really good lesson in nothing is ever truly gone, it showed just how massive of an impact Toonami had on its younger viewers, and how many of them went on to become adult swimmers. Swimmers? That didn't come out right. Can we run that back? Shows like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z began airing as early as 1998, followed by reruns of classic shows like Neon Genesis Evangelion and One Piece. A few of Cartoon Network's biggest hits actually got their start on Toonami, like the Powerpuff Girls and Teen Titans, which are notable for combining some of the best visual and narrative elements of both manga and Western comics. Not to mention other shows like He-Man, Samurai Jack, Thundercats, Ben 10, and Batman, which all aired in the late 90s and early 2000s, a time when close to a third of Cartoon Network's audience were adults. So it makes sense that Adult Swim launched in 2001, which allowed more mature anime to air, like Cowboy Bebop, Bleach, the previously mentioned Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist, and later on stuff like Tokyo Ghoul, and a little show you might have seen featured on my channel before, Bible Man. Despite the fact that Adult Swim was clearly made for, well, adults, I think they knew they had just enough of an edge to attract a large number of adolescent fans. But unlike Jewel and Puff Bar, I don't think they intentionally catered their product to them. In fact, I think they actively fought against the kids watching their program, judging by the hundreds of online stories documented by people who, as kids, woke up to the surreal, terrifying, and unexplained bumpers and inserts that dotted the channel. I mean, there was a whole trend where people would make their own, and some were creative as hell. The bottom line is, Adult Swim's block didn't run that late into the night, often starting around 10 p.m. and moving up to 8 p.m. in 2014, so plenty of kids were exposed to this stuff whether they liked it or not. And spoiler alert, the kids didn't just like it, they loved it.
Sabrina, the student is a senior at Franklin Military Academy,
Lakewood Local Middle School, and
a 7th grader at Griswold Middle School,
Nashua High School,
Anthem K-8 in Florence.
A book called Death Note.
Death Note.
She was copying a children's TV show called Death Notes, and the list was a prop for a fundraiser, not meant as a threat.
I said earlier that this generation loves Adult Swim, but I neglected to mention one show that, if we're talking about the quality of American animated television, is crucial to the conversation. Say what you want about Family Guy these days, but the show was instrumental in the history of Adult Swim and was extremely popular among males aged 18 to 34, a notoriously difficult demographic to cater to. Not you guys though, you're the real ones. And shout out to all my ladies. Family Guy was not only the #1 show on Cartoon Network, it was beating out Jay Leno and David Letterman on The Tonight Show and Late Show respectively. A Wire article from 2004 contains a quote from company president Jim Samples that reads, "Bringing Family Guy to the Adult Swim lineup last April really helped turn the block into a cultural phenomenon with young adults." And the numbers don't lie. Adult Swim saw a 239% increase in viewership after taking on Family Guy, which itself became such a cult hit that it was brought out of retirement for a 4th season, and the rest is history. Except, the rest isn't history. Family Guy was never a high-production show. Just like its competition, it relied on less intense animation and more solid writing. But did it even have that going for it? The internet has been publicly criticizing the show's lack of creativity for over 10 years, and as far back as 2006, shows like South Park and The Simpsons were directly calling out how brain-dead the show had become in just a few short years. Fast forward to 2023, and TikTok is well into its lifespan, with many creators finding new ways to innovate and format their content for maximum viewer retention. Gotta have that sweet, sweet watch time, baby. During this time, we saw the emergence of movies and shows being posted in full to the platform, often paired with mobile game footage to, I don't know, keep your attention. Was this just a stylistic choice, or did it actually do something to your brain? Either way, it worked, and Family Guy got a lot more exposure than it probably wanted or needed. And it wasn't long before the internet's regiment of pretentious white teenagers were out there wiggling their fingers saying,
"Well, if you want real quality animation, why don't you watch South Park instead of this brainwad, respectively?"
And, well, they were exactly right. The trend of Family Guy clips on TikTok spawned an equally massive, opposing wave of South Park clips that took the series to new heights. And these days, the common consensus about Family Guy is that it's actually pretty funny at times, but is mostly just low-effort animation and medium-effort writing. Like a cheap hooker, you get what you expect, so can you really complain? All of this brings us back to the discussion of Japanese versus American animation. Marvel and DC have had a chokehold on the comic book industry for over half a decade, so why are we only now seeing anime take such huge blows to these legacy media giants? Well, unlike 90% of the franchises we've covered in this video so far, Marvel just isn't innovating anymore. DC is doing a better job with movies like The Batman and Joker 1 and 2, kind of distancing themselves from what has become the standard for superhero movies in the past 20 years. But Marvel, man, how could you let this happen? The writing is mid, the dialogue and jokes are so the CGI is rushed and sloppy as a means of meeting unrealistic deadlines, and it seems like every major production to come out of Disney these days is shot on a soundstage in some warehouse, leading to some of the worst cinematography we've ever seen. Everything is about branding, characters are created to sell merchandise, and studios are paying actors millions of dollars to be part of projects instead of making them excited to push the envelope and create real works of art. People used to sit in their apartments for hours and discuss the implications of different superpowers and abilities, which were, more often than not, based on real science, history, and technology. But there is no science fiction anymore, it's just fiction. The days of what if Superman fought Darth Vader are over because, unfortunately, the characters are only fleshed out enough to meet whatever the needs are of the current story or production. There's no world building, there's no canon anymore, it's all just a bunch of kids playing with life-size action figures. Contrast that with anime and, well, you can grow an entire YouTube channel based solely on theorizing about the fictional universes these artists are creating. Some of these franchises are so well made that not even the creators themselves can answer the community's most debated questions. I like to say that audiences are like dogs and cats. The dogs will take whatever you give them. They love you, they love everything about you, and you can always count on them to support you, even when the going gets rough. Then you have the cats. The cats are a little more particular about what they like, and they certainly don't want to be associated with those disgusting dogs. And although they can be the most critical among your audience, they're an extremely valuable source of feedback, and if you can get the cats on your side, you know you have something special. Marvel and Star Wars had a lot of cats and dogs, people who loved Luke Skywalker because lightsabers are cool, duh, but also people who appreciated the tender love and care that went into the creation of the Star Wars universe, even if the writing and dialogue were pretty low grade.
My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
It was Queen Amidala's costumes and her role in the galactic government that made her so cool. The fact that she was a badass girl boss was secondary. And it was all done out of true passion and artistic intent, not to satisfy shareholders and get some points on social media. A character is an icon, sure, but they're a complex person with many sides, positive and negative. This is not only more attractive, but it's way more relatable than a perfect hero who just shows up, says the thing, and clocks out for the day. And this applies to actors as well. I want to do an entire video on it in the future, but people like The Rock have transcended, as I like to call it. They've made themselves into a one-note character, failing to realize that the best characters are the ones that have more chord progressions than a 42-minute prog rock song about the history of glass sneakers. This wouldn't be such a big deal if it weren't for the fact that there are more cats than dogs these days. Everyone under 25 was not only trained on the best movies and music by their Gen X parents, but the greatest memes and pop culture by millennials. The ripple effects of social media and the abundance of commentary online have given the current pool of consumers a shocking amount of media literacy. We know exactly what tactics are being used to get our attention, and we can tell when something was created by a board of directors versus a talented artist. Art actually is everywhere. Music is art, whether you're making it or putting it behind a TikTok. Hell, anything you share online could be considered art. If you're putting effort into the pictures you post to your Instagram or Snapchat story, you're imbuing your essence into something, and you're creating some kind of emotional experience or response in another person. And memes, dude, memes are some of the most complicated pieces of art to ever exist. They're just layers and layers of satire and you had to be there moments all stitched together and passed around like Frankenstein's wife during our first semester at college. My point is that the internet has not only given us a shocking amount of tools to create with, but an endless supply of inspiration from all points in history. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I feel like the generations that grew up with phones and the internet are more artistically inclined, those being the aforementioned millennials and Gen Z. Everything is DIY, you know, make your own wedding decorations and customize your laptop with stickers, customize your Bitmoji, buy cheap clothes from Salval or Shein and figure out what your vibe is. Your aura, as the kids are saying these days. Aura refers to somebody's coolness factor, but more importantly, mirrors the current culture's rising awareness of the power of confidence, influence, and value. An extremely confident person doesn't have to actually be confident, they just have to act like a more confident version of themselves, which will, in time, cause others to respect them and value what they have to say, assuming they aren't just saying a bunch of stupid shit to try and sound cool or smart. You can cut to the next clip now. These days, we have a better understanding of mental health than ever before, and it's inspiring a lot of people to take on new ways of improving their confidence beyond just faking it until they make it. Things like exercise, training, being more social, going on adventures, and turning to religion and spirituality. And when you look at anime protagonists, you see much of the same. I mean, nothing made me want to go work out more than seeing Goku and Krillin doing 10 laps across a shark-infested lake. And the Pillar Men, god damn! That's what I like to call motivational body standards. Esoteric themes are a hallmark of anime, so apart from a lack of effort on Hollywood's part, there's a rising interest in the things that have been part of Japanese media since the very beginning. Godzilla vs. Kong had no business crushing the box office during COVID, but it was such a refreshing bowl of ice water after a few seasons of drunken misery. And now, more than ever, we the people truly believe that we can make a difference. We brought back Family Guy, we brought back Toonami. Nostalgia is a huge selling point because, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broken, like blockbuster action movies, it gives independent and artistic projects, both Japanese and domestic, an opportunity to make a big splash. Even more traditional superhero shows, like Invincible and The Boys, are crushing the genre right now, because a little twist on the format and some decent writers can go a long way. And even when they're not crushing it, the fans are open to criticizing and offering solutions to what's going on. And it bothers me that so many people are all doom and gloom about AI ruining the world. Do you not realize that everyone is agreeing on this exact same point? The real trend we should be looking at is a rise in the creation and recognition of quality works of art. Things like anime and YouTube and independent films. This isn't the death of art, it's the rebirth of art. It's a dawn of a new era in humanity, one where we stop taking it for granted. That's about all I got for you guys. If you'd like to hear more, go check out my video on how Japan is massively influencing Western horror. If you like anime, I do a lot of that on this channel. Right now we're covering JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I plan on talking about Attack on Titan, Usogui, and, well, more JoJo down the line. Comment any criticisms and share this video with your friends. It really helps out a lot, especially since I'm trying to prove to sponsors that I'm legit. And comment anything you'd like to see me cover in a future video because, well, you guys are my biggest resource. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love. Bye-bye.
Next time on Luke Wilson TV.
I think we're going to do the Attack on Titan video next. That'll be a lot of fun. After that, maybe something small. JoJo Iceberg Part 4 is in the pipeline. Also, new podcast episode probably. I kind of want to throw in a movie review. I might be doing like the Idiocracy video finally, but again, that movie's been talked to death, so I kind of want to tie it into like Costco or something. Chicken bake. And once again, I don't feel guilty about including this because it is at the end of the video. I am sincerely thankful for all of the support on the channel. Guys, come on, over 9,000 subscribers. It's over 9,000. It's over 9,000. All right, my voice is fried. See you guys in the next one. Peace.